Arcana is this idea of hidden knowledge, or knowledge that you don't quite access. So I wanted to give that idea there as well, that there are things there that you can decode or try and find out about, but maybe you won't quite understand, but that doesn't matter. You know, I'm kind of interested in that point where the viewer has to think for themselves, try and work out what's going on there. So when the visual form of the exhibition became the kind of like the corridors and the room, then that reminded me of kind of horrible government offices where you're being interviewed for something. So that was where the idea of like, it looks like a weird office space now. And I got quite excited by that idea of the relationship between a scaled down world and the viewer. And I wanted to produce spaces that would then bring the viewer into these strange little scaled down spaces. The reason behind those spaces is to do with a number of interrelating ideas. So one comes from the current state of the world and the feeling that, particularly capitalism, the way that we've built the world now is wrong. Perhaps these spaces are symbolic of a kind of ending of something. You know, factories, even the way that we think about cultural institutions, we're going to have to rethink everything. There was a series of ideas that were based on bringing together two sets of concepts that I thought did not relate. So the first set of concepts were to do with occult matters. So magic and things like that, bringing up demons. And then the second set of ideas came from the development of military vehicles. And that came from wanting to put two things together and then present it in a very objective way, as if these two things really did connect. What fascinated me as a child about ruined spaces in Liverpool and the UK was that I didn't really know what these places were. So there were lots of, basically there were houses that were abandoned and were going to be knocked down. But as a child, we always referred to them as bomb sites because the only reference we had was the Second World War. And you know, that's not what they were. But that continued, that idea of you find a ruin, and a ruin by its structure, by the fact that it is no longer complete, it makes you have to complete its story. You have to bring in its backstory. And that's what fascinates me, you know, that thing of you have to try and work out what something was for. Why is this here? From my youth, the stories would be based mostly on science fiction, British TV science fiction. Here, I still have that thing of seeing ruins as being both something of the past, but also maybe an echo, a ghost of something from the future. It's all a matter of perspective. The quote is from Terry Pratchett, who is a writer of fantasy novels. But like a lot of things like fantasy and science fiction, which are regarded as second-rate literature, most certainly not, but they always contain a lot of interesting truth. And of course, it was a quote I was thinking about, you know, it's about, again, that thing of thinking and questioning what you see. And I thought of that quote, and then because I'm playing with perspective in some of the things I'm producing, centrally what I want the viewer to do is to go into the space and to look at these structures that I built there, which have a defined purpose, or seem to have a defined purpose, and then trying to work out those stories. So it's open interpretation for the viewers. And I hope that they then take some of that away and think about what's around them and use that idea of questioning what you're presented with and using it to think rather than just accept what you're given. And I think that needs to be recognised. There isn't a kind of one single viewpoint that gives you total truth. You have to be careful about those ideas, which is not to say there's not truth, but you should question things. I don't have one particular message to convey to the viewers. I want them to go into the space and to see what they will get from it. When you produce a piece of artwork and you place it in a gallery, in a sense you withdraw from that. You know, you've made the work, you place it there, and then the kind of dialogue that happens between the viewer and the work produces something new. That's where the art really happens. So I want the viewers just to have an imaginative, creative engagement with the work.
Stop watching me, go and look.